let's first of all talk about something that can happen to you if you're living in China, okay? There are volunteers right now. Now, these volunteers are acting like the Red Guard.
说什么事？
说什么事啊？你们今天在网上发布了什么东西啊？不是我们发布的，我们网上没发布。谁叫允义了？谁叫允义谁啊？
你就说什么事？
允义是谁写文的？我不知道，我不知道谁呀。现在住几个人？进去看一下。
喂，哎，哎，你要是敢进来，我马上就报警。
你报！
哎，打人了！你打人，我马上就报警。
哎，不要冲动！不是你什么事嘛？你报警啊！你报！
你们是哪里的？你们擅闯民宅？
你上民宅，我们是志愿者。
哪个志愿者？哪里的志愿者？
本选区的。
你贵姓？
你问我贵姓干嘛？
你姓什么？
你是谁？你
找我们干什么？
不敢承认谁是谁啊？
你找我们干什么？
叫什么名字？
你找我们干什么？
叫什么名字？
你找我们干什么？
干什么？你们做过什么事情就找
你们找我们干什么？你说清楚。
做过什么事情？
说清楚。
没做什么东西啊？什么网上？
啊，网上我们群里面做什么东西？
群里面没有做什么东西啊？
到房东，我说房东不把这个事情解决好。
我们没有做什么那个违法或者什么事啊？
啊，你会拍啊？
群里面没有说什么那个什么违法的事啊？
你们没有违法？你们今天在网上说的什么？
在鼓动人家没有在网上说呀？没说，
没有，
没有网上，我们谁也没有在网上说。
看一下这个是谁？
这个我不认识，我不知道。
A group of these so-called volunteers arrives at someone's door. They barge in, like about 8 of them at least, it looks like. And they're demanding to know who is the person who wrote these messages on WeChat. WeChat's like WhatsApp, you know, something like that. People have groups. Yeah, it's a messaging group, but it's a bit more than that in China. It's pretty much everyone uses it. So it just shows you that if you write something on the internet that the local government doesn't like, you get snitched on by either someone in the group or they monitor the groups because they can. If there's certain, and they do. If there's keywords, it'll get flagged and they'll look into it, right? If somebody typed something, if you write like Tiananmen Square Massacre, it's going to be like, they're going to look at it, right?
You're on high alert.
Yeah, they're going to see, what is this guy talking about? Is he trying to cause trouble?
Everything you've ever posted on WeChat is accessible to the government.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no privacy when it comes to that. They don't access everything because they just don't need to.
But they can.
But they will if something gets flagged, right? So these guys coming in and harassing the people and obviously trying to find out who made the post, and they would just take them away, arrest them, or do whatever if they find out it's that person.
This is the Red Guards, right?
Yeah.
Red Guards under Mao.
So yeah,
Mao.
and isn't it interesting how they wear red vests now?
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And they're allowed anonymity. They're basically allowed impunity to go be thugs.
Yeah.
To go basically take the worst type of people to gang up on innocent people that have spoken poorly against the government on the internet.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to do. And the scary thing about this to me is that you're seeing one video, right? So people always look at China like some sort of, it's just an Asian version of America or something, right? Of course there's videos like this. But you don't understand how rare it is for videos like this to leak out.
Sure.
There are probably thousands of instances like this happening, and you only get to see one.
Of course, there are many.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a whole bunch more of these volunteers dragging people away and doing stuff. Yeah, we'll see.
It's rare to be able to film that.
Here we have a foreigner, and we wanted to show you this little clip here quickly.
So here's an update. I tested positive, right? There's nowhere for them to send me, all right? I'm not allowed to go in the hospital, and I have to stay here in this room. And this is what they gave me. This blue thing and this blanket. And they're like, you can sleep here. This is what I have to sleep on. Man, this is supposed to be like a nice hospital. And this is where I'm sleeping tonight.
So when the law...
Yeah, you know, the thing is, that guy's complaining about having to sleep in the corner outside, you know, on that little mat. But what he doesn't realize is that because he's a foreigner, he's been given that privilege of
That's
not
like a
being...
big deal.
He has not been carted away to one of the quarantine facilities.
Right.
You know, that's the big difference. There are cases of some foreigners going into the better quarantine facilities, which we've seen videos of, where they're in with like a huge amount of people in a big gymnasium or something.
It's horrible as well.
It's horrible, but it's not being locked in those little cages. So to him, he's like, oh, this is awful that I have to sleep on this pad. But meanwhile, they've done him a solid, you know. They're like, you're a foreigner, so we're going to let you sleep here rather than forcing you onto that bus like we do to the locals, you know, and taking them away to those real shitty little prison things. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, just to show you that. Now, here's the thing. Remember we told you if you get tested positive, you get carted away to quarantine.
Yeah.
It would literally mean you get carted away to quarantine. Okay.
We have just play it out.
Take a look. But not only that, if you haven't been tested or if you didn't get your mandatory test for the day, you will forcefully be removed from your apartment or dragged away from wherever you are to go and get that test too. So you can see in the background, I'll just get us out of here for a minute, some people being chased down and dragged into... look, we had to censor a couple of things here because there is violence involved.
We don't show it.
No, we don't show it. The stormtroopers, they want the people in the van, and when they resist, they will resort to violence, throw them to the ground, beat them.
Yeah, we also have some shots of the inside of the van footage too.
Yeah,
but they basically go and they raid. They bring armed police.
I'd like you to see. Yeah, you can see how the security guards are all. You can see it in the corner. They're cordoned off an area so that nobody can escape. So nobody can flee and run through a little crack somewhere, you know. So they surround an entire area first, and then they go into the buildings, and then they extract the people to be taken away to these prisons.
Yes.
Okay? Because that's all that they are. It's like a prison.
I mean, these aren't just people resisting testing. These are people resisting, I don't want to be locked up into... Because there were people that were locked up for 100+ days in the last one. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Oh, under bridges and stuff?
Yeah, we got some audio here. What's happening? We'll just explain to you with the stormtroopers on the far right of the screen here. There's an elderly woman who hasn't been feeling well and she didn't go for a mandatory test, so they're going to arrest her. Okay, because that's how it works.
An old lady, yeah.
If you don't go for your mandatory test, they will arrest you.
根据《中华人民共和国治安管理处罚法》第82条之规定，现传唤你于2022年4月4日12时前到上海市松江区九亭镇3省一级园居委会接受询问。我们现在依法带走，现在。
Her husband's like spazzing out, obviously.
Well, I mean, they've pinned him down.
Yeah. Well, he's not like fighting.
Well, he's trying.
He's trying to get his wife back.
Yeah, of course.
But they take you away, and this is.
And he shouted, "That's against the law," type thing to him. You know, she's in her pajamas, okay, and she's being dragged out. This elderly woman, I think she's 60-something years old, if I remember correctly, 67 or something. And they're dragging her out to go forcefully test her, possibly put her in quarantine. She's sick and she's been sickly, and hasn't been able to go and get a test or whatever the case may be that day. Just shows you the kind of nonsense that's going on here.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a bit of a mix on the screen here right now.
No, I mean, it's all kinds of interesting things happening.
Yeah, on the far right. Now, that was shot in, where was that? I remember
Shanghai.
No, that's not Shanghai. That's not Shanghai.
Where are you pointing?
The people kneeling.
Oh, no, sorry, I mixed up because you're backwards on the screen.
The guys kneeling was, I can't remember where that was, but it's happening in the same time period, and it's in China, but people are being made to kneel down to get their codes scanned.
Yeah, bizarre.
Which is bizarre. But yeah, now you can see them loading people onto buses to take them to quarantine facilities.
So you just remember the shots where you saw the top down? Now you can see the people going.
Yeah,
it's an example.
It's an example. This is different. Like you can see the quarantine buses over here. And they're forcing people on.
Right.
And resorting to violence and actually just...
We censor it.
Yeah,
don't punish us.
Don't punish us. We censor the violence. Come on. They're just lightly tapping the people.
Sure. Use your imagination.
Yeah. To make sure that they get on the buses. Okay, now this is important for us to talk to. What you see now, the volunteers, okay, up there.
The red guards.
The red guards. And the blur you see on the floor is an Ulama driver, okay?
Ulama is a food delivery service.
Yeah. It could be Meituan.
Doesn't
Which
matter.
one is the one with the kangaroo? That's Meituan, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, then it's Meituan. Sorry, my mistake. Or as the guy in the clip earlier said, Meituar, because he's in the north of China, and they say Meituar instead of Meituan. But yeah, it's got like a yellow kangaroo thing. So you can see the yellow blur. Okay, so that is a delivery driver who's currently being basically dogpiled by a bunch of these volunteers.
Volunteers, again, red guards. You have to
Yes.
understand what a red guard is. They operate under Chairman Mao with impunity to go do the bidding of the Chinese government.
Yes.
And they don't get in trouble. I mean, they absolutely don't get in trouble no matter what they do. And they're volunteers in that like I said, the worst kind of people getting together to go try to punish people.
Like if you have a
it's mob violence.
God complex, authoritarian company, and you want to be a bad man, you can just join these volunteer groups, and you have connections with the local government, obviously. Anyway, so what they're doing is they're detaining and possibly going to go put this guy in quarantine or whatever the case. And like I said, I very highly suspect, and it has been confirmed by some people, that they are now thinking that these delivery drivers are spreading the disease now. They're like, well, where else can it be coming from?
It's only the government that can provide food and be the savior of the people. The actual heroes, these food delivery guys that are working their asses off day and night.
I mean,
they're getting dogpiled and demonized now.
Even before the pandemic started, these guys have a hard time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They got a hard
hard life and very dangerous on the roads.
Yeah, they all get into accidents all the time. Right. Anyway, so we just wanted to point that out. Again, here they're forcefully dragging people and beating them up and stuff, lightly tapping them on the head with fists and feet in order to make sure that they comply and go to quarantine.
Most of these are quarantined. People don't want to go away for indeterminate amounts of time.
Yeah.
In these boxes where a lot of people aren't getting fed, and they're hanging out with a bunch of other sick people.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Locked up.
It's not cool. I mean, if you're asymptomatic, can you imagine yourself, right? We'll talk about what's happening now shortly, but you as a person living in the free world, okay? And you test positive for COVID. Let's say you get a home test kit or something, and you're like, oh, I'm positive, but you don't feel bad. Like, nothing's different.
So you decide to just stay home yourself?
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'll just stay in my house for a couple of days until I test negative, right? That's the responsible thing to do, right?
That's what everyone does. Yeah.
I'll hang out in my garden or something. I'll order food,
Should do, yeah.
You know, that type of thing. That's the kind of thing. But imagine you test positive and then you don't have a choice. Now the stormtroopers are going to come drag you out of your house, even though you don't feel bad, and put you into this ridiculous little cube or into this massively crowded gymnasium or something with hundreds of sick people, thousands of sick people.
That you pay for.
And you have to pay for it, and you're stuck there for days, weeks. You don't know.
You don't know. They don't tell you.
They don't tell you, and you're stuck there. Imagine what that feels like, because that's what it feels like for these people. You wonder why they're resisting? They're resisting because they don't want to go to these places.
Now that you painted a really good picture, I want to compound that with the fact that maybe imagine yourself being taken away from your home and you're like, oh, well, at least I'm going to be put into a medical facility. Let's say you have medication, blood pressure medication, diabetes medication, insulin, right? Well, it's funny because they're actually going to remove you from the place, your home, where you can actually treat those things.
Sure.
Because they're going to bring you to a place that doesn't have that stuff. They're going to put you in a huge dormitory or a metal tiny box where they're not going to give you the medication you need.
Right.
That's a huge issue.
Correct.